Welcome back to Your Story Medicine. Today I am with Asha Frost, who is an Indigenous medicine woman, author, and founder of Sacred Membership, a global online medicine circle community. She served thousands of people for the past 2 decades in her work in private practice as a healer, homeopath teacher, and leader, and has studied with many shamans, medicine people, elders, and guides. Impacted by intergenerational trauma, colonization, and oppression, Asha has worked hard to reclaim and remember her roots and medicine teachings. She specialized in helping people heal through illness, mental and emotional disorders, and ancestral reconnection. Through this work, she has loved seeing people find their own healing wisdom, presence, and power. Her book, You Are the Medicine, will be published by Hay House in 2022. What?
Yay.
Yay. And this is also well, Asha and I have spoken before on the Your Story Medicine Summit from 2019. And I love coming back to visit folks to see how much we have blossomed because I feel like even we touched base 2 weeks ago and we're like, or like last month, and we're like, things have shifted so much, especially with the seasons. So I'm excited to catch up with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us, where is it that you call home? And also, in your own words, how is it you would describe your medicine?
So I am currently on Anishinaabe land, Haudenosaunee land, and Huron-Wendat land. And my ancestors, I call the place I call home is similar land, because my ancestors are all from Ontario, Canada, from Turtle Island, all from First Nations across Ontario and Turtle Island. So this truly does feel like home to me in so many ways. And as for my medicine, I believe that my medicine is that of presence, of rootedness, of truly seeing other people's medicine, and then just helping to initiate or catalyze that spark within them to help them to rise and remember who they are.
Hmm. So tell us more about your ancestral lineage and how this has influenced your path today.
So my ancestors are all Anishinaabe or Ojibwe. That's another way to say that. And they inform a lot of my path. And primarily it's the journey of kind of moving through some of the trauma of my ancestry and a lot of the colonization and oppression that Indigenous people have had to move through. Of course, we all have our stories, but that is part of the story that has weaved through my blood and my bones. And I've had to remember the power and the medicine that we've carried as Indigenous people, the resilience. So it's been a really long healing journey to get here and to kind of call back those medicine pieces that have been lost, that have been suppressed, that have been taken away and stolen. So it really informs all the work I do through my own personal journey in trying to reclaim those pieces and call back the knowing that I've always had in my soul, and the whispers I've always heard from my ancestors through my dreams and visions. And it continues, the journey continues, but that really informs the work that I do and how I show up as a healer in the world.
I think there's a lot of us who have this misconception that you were always this way, and that on Instagram it can look so beautiful the ways that you are embodying your medicine. But what was your life like prior to stepping onto this path of reclaiming your ancestors' medicine?
So, really, what cracked me open was a diagnosis of lupus when I was 17. And I think I was just really disconnected because of, I didn't want to be Indigenous as a child. Like, I was like, I would be gifted these beautiful beads. Like, now my beaded earrings are so cherished. But then I was like, I don't want to be Indigenous. I want to assimilate with what's normal and with what is around me right now. So I would hide all those pieces and parts. And even though in my home we spoke about being Anishinaabe and my mother tried to deliver those teachings, I still felt like it's something that I didn't want to be. So I got sick, and that really started my journey to say, like, you have to remember the earth can heal you, your spirit connection can heal you. You've forgotten this. And of course you've forgotten, because there's so much pain in your family lineage, right? Of course you've forgotten and been separated. So I mean, I wish I could say at 17 I woke up and then I was like, wow, here I am. I'm a healer. But I just started to heal myself and started to see so many people as guides to try to help me come back to myself and try to heal my body, because it's been a painful journey in my physical body. And that continues every day. So I think it's like this journey of reimagining, re-envisioning, and remembering and calling back what I've always known. But it's just like a inner activation. And yeah, it can appear like that on Instagram, that that confidence is there, that rootedness is there. But I think as human beings, we still go through those ups and downs of, is this my purpose and path? How am I rewiring this? How am I reworking this? What are my ancestors calling to me now? How is that journey changing and evolving? I believe we're constantly in that evolution, and I'm here for it. I'm here for
Yeah. What was your career prior to being a healer? Well,
that.
I know you've always been a healer, but I guess in the like, whenever people ask, what do you do for a living? I feel like for people like us, it's not as easy as responding with a title.
I mean, I went to school, I went to university for psychology because I wanted to be a child psychologist. That was my dream. And then when I got sick, I got really sick. I started to search out alternative therapies. So then I went to school for homeopathy. So I was a homeopath for about 17 years. So I had a private practice. So that was my job. So if somebody said, what are you? I said, I'm even homeopath. And people are like, what do you do? It's always been a little bit of what is it that you do? But that's whatever. So I kind of started on the path, went to school, and started my healing path. And I feel blessed that it's kind of evolved. I haven't ever questioned, like, what direction do I go in? Like, I think that my connection to trusting spirit and my ancestors has helped enormously in just saying, okay, this is the path. And then also surrendering to things that don't turn out, because there's things that disappointments or failures that have happened in my life. And I could see it at the time. I had this ego vision to say, okay, that's not happening for me. So what is opening up for me? So that felt like a gift too. And then just trusting that and going in that direction.
Yeah. So the reason why how I found Asha in the first place was because when I was putting together interviews for my last project, I was looking up the hashtag cultural appropriation to see what would pop up. And her Instagram profile was one of the first things. And she had recently released an article called Dear White Woman. And I was like, I need to talk to this woman even more because I feel like for a lot of us who are in this industry, especially women of color, at least when I first came into this world, like 3, 4 years ago, I felt like it was only white folks who were doing this. And I was also telling myself the story, nobody's going to want to invest in my services unless they're white. And I noticed that in a lot of the guests I had booked, that even though I had this vision to call in more women of color to step into these roles. Many people may know that my business was actually a call to action to address cultural appropriation by no longer focusing on whiteness, but focusing on us being the ones that we've prayed for. And I feel like with you, in the beginning, that was predominantly your audience. I feel like that was common for a lot of my guests. And I think it's beautiful that we can use the medicine of our ancestors to support others on their healing journey, regardless of what their ancestral lineage is. But why was it important for you to make that a public statement? And how has that shifted your medicine and the way you show up in service today?
Such a great question. I think it was a boundary. That's like a really clear answer. It was a boundary that needed to be spoken, that was in my body for 10 years. Like something that would shake inside of me, that probably made me ill and sick because I couldn't find that voice or that place inside of me that could speak it. It didn't feel safe yet. It still wasn't safe when I spoke it, to be honest, but it was time. So I just felt really called. I would see these things happening and all this taking, and I could feel it in my bones, or I could feel it in my system. Lupus is an autoimmune disease, so I'd almost feel this self attack happening as I'd feel these taking energies happening. And it finally came to a day where I'm like, I am not going to suffer anymore. I need to share this and not just be reprocessing the trauma in my body. So that's what happened. And I just felt like I need to share this letter. I need to write it down. And, many folks in my communities um, had walked that journey with me. They already knew my boundary because we'd be speaking about Indigenous issues all the time and how to use these teachings appropriately. So it was more when I got bigger visibility wise, like on Instagram or Facebook, were people that I didn't have a relationship with, and the taking that I could start feeling there, that I thought I need to start saying something as I grow my visibility, because I want folks in right relationship with me. So if you're coming into my space, you need to have read my letter, understood a part of it, and done the research to say, what am I asking of you? So it was a really big boundary. And what shifted since then is so fascinating, because I can feel that energetic boundary now very clear. So my membership is like, we talk about these things. We talk about appropriation and white supremacy. We talk about all of these things. And if you're not energetically going to do that work, then you're not going to be invited in. So it really was a beautiful, I don't know, energetic boundary, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah. This is important for anybody who feels like, I want to be able to serve everyone. I want to heal the masses. And what I have come to find on this journey, at least for myself, if I could work deeply with a small group of people, then I know I can impact the masses if they can go on and serve others. But I feel the challenge with not having those energetic boundaries, especially for people who may not be as connected to their ancestors, which we should talk about, by the way, because I think that people tend to overcomplicate what that looks like. Is uh, like from what I have experienced, I remember being at another business retreat where my friend, who is of Japanese heritage, was facilitating a tea ceremony, and majority of the participants happened to be white. And when folks broke up into groups to talk about what their next sacred offerings were going to look like, I could hear whispers from them about now wanting to offer tea ceremony. And it was so painful to hear that, because it's like, just because you sat in a tea ceremony one time doesn't mean that you can replicate this for your own profit.
I know. I know. And it's hard because it does cause that. And then we have to process that, right? So you feel the anger, and then we're left with just like, okay, I got to go see my therapist. I got to go see my healer. I have to, do all that work. It's a lot of labor and um, just emotional expectation, I guess, now that's landed into us, that we have to do the work, right? So I hear that. It can be very, very harmful.
But there's the flip side as well, which is the critique that we may be experiencing from our own people,
Yeah.
especially when we are charging for our medicine or sharing it more publicly with the world. So, how is it that you've navigated through that? And if you've even experienced it at all?
Oh, yes, I've experienced it a lot. Um, Particularly because as an Indigenous person, we are not traditionally not supposed to charge any money, receive any money for any ceremonies, any teachings, anything. And it became really clear to me early on that I have children to feed and clothe. It was just a very basic, this is my exchange. This is the way that exchange is happening right now. And I also know that Indigenous people were abundant people. So I would connect to those ancestors that were abundant. I have this one that wears these beaver furs that were, it's like just really represents abundance to me. And he tells me, like, I was abundant, we were abundant, you deserve to have that too. So I had to do so much healing, because there's still critique that comes my way. How dare you charge? And then I would work with these medicine people who couldn't even afford to buy shoes or pay for their children to live in their home with them. And I'm like, there's something wrong with this. Like, how is a lawyer allowed to make all this money, but this Indigenous healer who can cure cancer is suffering and can't even put gas in their car or pay for their children's food? Like, it just, to me, it just didn't make any sense. So I am here for like really advocating for healers and folks of color, especially, to receive all that they're worthy of, because we need that. We need that.
I feel it can be almost contradictory for us to make money, and at the same time, I think about the possibility of Indigenous people or people who are descendants of those who were enslaved to be able to buy back their own ancestors' land. Like,
Yes.
that's my bigger vision for more of us to do that reclamation work. And it's like, I don't know if I want to say it's a part of playing the game, but I feel like if our ancestors were able to trade for their services, I know that there's a lot of people who are investing in mutual aid. It's like, well, if I'm going to trade one supply for another, at least in today's day and age, I still have to buy that. And so I have just been coming to learn or accept that money is a tool, just like a hammer, just like a shovel. And I feel like there are, like, I also don't want to say like, oh, there's like you choose to be poor, because that's extremely problematic. But maybe you can relate to this, because I've been reflecting on my own financial abundance this year, and how when I was just starting on this journey, I was so afraid of receiving financial abundance in my life because of the fear of being called a sellout, or that I'm not a real healer. And I've actually literally been called to that, by the way, like, take away June's healer card, which felt so harmful to me. And yet now, if I were to think about what does it look like for us to decolonize the ways we are showing up in offering our sacred medicine, that we are being asked to be good stewards of money, just like how our ancestors were good stewards of the land. And if we can have that power to be able to generate that for ourselves, then yes, if we are to be good stewards, we will redistribute that back to our communities, our families, to others, to also step into this energetic flow. It's just something that's been really present for me right now, especially as I am feeling this shift even amongst the pandemic. So I'm curious what that journey has been like for you.
I just love that. I mean, I can, to me, it's always like a visual thing or an energetic thing. And I feel like a very clear channel to be a resource, to just like the money flows in, the money gets redistributed, as you say, to the places that need it. And I see it especially now, like, if I, there's a lot of communities that need help, and there's a lot of beautiful places that I'm able to like serve that money and give that money to. And I can see it right now. Like, if I kept myself small and didn't share my medicine and didn't advocate for myself and receiving this abundance, I could not help. I could not help these beautiful Indigenous children that need it right now. Or, and I'm just saying that from a place of, there has to be balancing with this reconciliation and retribution. Like, it's happening. It's starting to happen, and I want to be a channel for that. So I'm always like, I'm kind of like, spirit, creator, use me as a channel for that, because I can be clear, and I feel that worthiness I've worked so hard to come to terms with. Because you're right. I mean, I've had the same thing. You're not a real healer if you accept money. You're a fraud. You're a liar. Like, very hurtful things where you think, I am trying to just clothe my children and feed my family. Like, it's really basic stuff here. So it's been a big healing journey for this. But I'm getting more certain, like you, and more rooted in like, I want to be this channel. That's what I'm here
Yeah.
for.
And it's more than just sitting around meditating on our cushions and doing our affirmations and our prayers, though that is actually so integral in opening ourselves up to receive. But I feel the next step is creating a safe place or a sacred offering that allows others to also receive this medicine. And so in your case, it's been the membership, it's been this book that is coming out in 2022. And also, I know that you are creating other offerings. So, tell us about what has been the channel for you to open yourself up to this abundance so that others can also step into their own medicine.
Yes, I think like for so long, first speak about what held me back. What held me back was probably those fears of being called a sellout or being called like, you're leaving us, like you're leaving us to be whatever this is over here. So I think like when I got this book deal, it felt so big. It almost felt like I didn't have the capacity to receive that much. It almost like I needed to grow my capacity. So all year I've been working on that. How can I grow my capacity through my healers, through my guides, just like really working on like feeling safe to receive that much. It felt like a big thing. And so I've been doing a lot of nervous system work. I've been doing a lot of intention and ceremony around this. And finally, I feel like my container has grown a little bit, and it feels safe now that I can open myself to getting that. Because before it wasn't safe. I'd be like, if I open up, maybe I'm gonna get painful things thrown my way. And now I'm like, oh, you know what though? I feel worthy. So I think I can handle if something comes my way, I have more protection. So that feels huge. Yeah, so it just feels like my container's growing, which is I think for a person of color, I've watched for so long these white women in business rise, and I've learned from them, some of them, and I've seen them just rise, rise, rise. And we've started our business at the same time. And I finally started to see, oh my goodness, this isn't like an equitable world. Like it was harder for me to get my name out there and to rise at the same rate. So it's just like a lot of acknowledgement too of the truth. And then thinking like that's kind of sad, so I grieved that and I felt angry about that and I moved through the healing of that, and all of that was necessary to grow this container, because before I just kept it hidden, or just I like probably bypassed it.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that a lot of this path of expansion requires so much nervous system work. So much. How does it feel to be able to receive not just money, but compliments and praise, and to know that others actually want to give so that they too can also be able to receive? And I feel like your creations in the world, even the title of your upcoming book, You Are the Medicine, is that call to action to say, you know what? You don't need me. I'm here and I'm available as a resource, but I promise everything it is you are looking for is already there inside of you, which I feel disrupts so much of this wellness industry of you need me, and if you don't buy my services or products, then your life is going to go into shambles or something like that. And it's even though we talk so much about abundance and mindset, I feel like the ways that this was even birthed may have come from scarcity, and we are redefining what that can look like.
Yes, we really are. And that comes also from, studying with some teachers where I think I did give my power over. And I did see that as that I needed them somehow to tell me what I needed, or to pat me on the head and say, you're ready, or to say, you have permission now to do this. And now it's like, oh no, this journey has just been about, it's always, the power has been within me. It's in my blood and bones and my dreams, and I have that. So how can I just model that for others? It's not even teach others. It's just if I'm this and I'm being this, then my energy ripples out, and then it activates something in someone else. I believe in that so much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I attended a workshop recently on matriarchal marketing.
Mhm.
And I love how I'll bring her in as a guest, Clarinda, but she mentioned how uh, scarcity is actually rooted in white supremacy.
Mhm.
And how many of us, especially in these bodies of color, are embodying that for ourselves? And so when you choose to write the book, when you choose to create the membership portal, any offering you create is with that intention of abundance. Let me create this so that people know that there is enough to go around, and our offerings are just the catalyst for others to remember remember their medicine.
Yes, I love that.
Hmm.
And I think even like the way that, like, I'm starting to see myself unravel out of the white supremacy way, because we are marinating in this. Even the way this time I launched and I was like, I don't want to have that doors closing. Like, I was like, I'm just done with that because, first of all, that's an assault on folks' nervous systems to feel that, like, and that scarcity energy. And to me, I don't want to cause any more harm from a healer perspective. So, how could I just have an invitation and then just trust the outcome? So I did it very differently this time, and I'm moving forward. I just want to really deepen into that because that's where I think that we're moving into. At least it's my hope.
Yeah, I truly believe it is. So a lot of this work also requires sacred boundaries versus being available to everyone and all things and all opportunities. So tell us about what it is you are birthing in this time of your life, and why boundaries are important in order for us to be able to manifest the visions we have for our future selves.
So 2020 has been us for everyone, right? It was a year. But this year, because I think the book deal happened, and then there was just this increase it was after the letter. So that was last year. And then everything just went poof. So I've been asked to do so many things. And I think there's that part of me that's always been like, if I don't say yes, what is that? What's going to happen? Is any other opportunity going to come my way? And I've worked through that for many years in different ways. But as we up level or evolve or grow into new things, it's like, oh, now it's podcasts, and now it's like opportunities to be in people's groups and teaching and all these things. And they all felt exciting to me. So I had a really hard time saying no because I thought, well, that fills me up too. But as the end of the year closes down, I just did my last launch and I'm feeling it and feeling like I just want to hibernate. We are moving into bear medicine season on the medicine wheel. I need to write this book. So it's like even more than ever, I need to listen to that inner guidance when I feel a really strong yes. And for me, it's like a strong yes it always comes to me, but of course, sometimes I override it. So I'm really listening carefully and quietly and just like not letting the noise of the outer world or the expectations or that voice saying, if you don't say yes to this, nothing will ever come again.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. I I like to use my calendar as a manifestation tool. And so whenever I'm dreaming about all the things I want to birth, I just look at my calendar and observe how much of my time have I been giving away, which is taking away from this future ancestral version of myself that I am calling forth for guidance.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. And I can really feel like it's kind of hard sometimes because this creation, I'm in this phase of this book and then dreaming these oracle cards too. So it's kind of like I'm just dreaming still, right? I'm dreaming and dreaming, but we need that space to really create the beauty and abundance of that. But so it's sort of like we don't see the end result quite yet, but I know that is coming and that will be a whole new cycle. So I love that you see that with your calendar because I think it's so important. So I'm still in the process of figuring it out. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
last couple of weeks have been just shifting me into this season as it takes some time for me, especially a couple of weeks to be like, okay, I was in this phase, going into a new cycle. I'm going to integrate all my learnings and then go from there.
But I also want to name that dreaming is a strategy. You will be inundated with all the things that you're supposed to be doing to birth your sacred offerings, and to honor that this stillness is a part of the plan. It is so, so necessary. So many books, songs, poems have actually been downloaded from the dream realm, from the ancestral realm. And I feel like part of us decolonizing the ways we are showing up is giving ourselves that spaciousness, but then knowing that we will need to put that into radical aligned action as artists, as shamans, as creators, as manifestors. I feel it is an artist's duty to be able to take that which we see from our imagination and bring it forth into the physical realm. So tell us more about the card deck, and let's just set the intention. What is being birthed in this next season of your life?
Oh my goodness. It feels like magic to me, to be honest. Like as you asked me that question, I just see this explosion of magic. The card deck in particular has me really lit up because I just, first of all, I love card decks. So I've always used them within my circles in all of the ways. And I just feel like every card has its own spirit and they've been speaking to me already and they're alive for me already. And I can feel that they're going to be globally distributed and just felt. And I feel like the presence and essence and medicine of them is going to go on for a really long time. They feel very potent to me, and it almost feels like an extension of my energy. So I'm not going to have to show up in these ways anymore, in the same way anymore. I could be like, have my card deck, and then you have a little bit of my medicine that you can use for yourself.
Yeah, how is this card deck different from the other ones that you've seen? I have a
Wow.
whole bunch behind me too. Stacks.
I think I don't know. There's something that about the aliveness of it. Not that I mean, some card decks are like that for me, but there's something about the medicine teachings. It feels directly channeled from my ancestors. I've been writing some of them, and I can just feel. And I'm sure a lot of people channel their cards, but it just feels like it's right from the source. It's like Anishinaabe teachings, like right from the source, and they just really feel like they're going to help to activate healing too for people. Like anything that's being stirred up, you can look at this card, pick it up, and then something will be sparked within you. That's my hope.
Hmm, I'm so excited to get another card deck in my pile. So, what is it that you have been doing for yourself to stay grounded in these times? And also, what is it that you have learned to release?
I think that actually just recently I've been going outside for a walk every single day, and it's snowing here and it's cold. So I put my snow pants on and I just get bundled up because it's so important for me to get on the earth. Like that's just been everything for me these days. So that and a lot of salt baths. Those are the two things that I've been doing like really consistently. And I'm just kind of like, I can't say no to those things. I always do ceremony in my days. I always, drum and do sacred smudging and all of those rituals. But there's something about moving my body lately that I really need to be doing. So that's important. And letting go of so much. I feel like this year has been like a whole death phase of even letting go of like self doubt, letting go of not seeing myself in my truth, letting go of other people's expectations of me, letting go of pleasing people. I feel like it's been a constant journey, but this year in particular, I don't have any space for anything else. So I'm like, I have to let this go for me to really dream this vision into being.
Yeah. For anybody who is feeling this stirring in their belly to step into this role as a wisdom keeper or as a healer, mm, or also it could be, well, if you can envision yourself as a future ancestor speaking to this younger version of yourself who was in doubt of her calling, what is it that you would say to her today?
I can actually feel that part of me really strongly. She's just saying, like, to breathe. You have everything you need within you. You always have. You've always been this wise one. You've lived a million lifetimes. Keep going and keep walking and keep listening to us. Like, we are here. Everything you're hearing is true. So just keep listening to us.
Hmm, so beautiful. And what I would love to start doing with our listeners, it's the coach in me, is to give people some sort of action. I don't want to call it homework, but something to integrate this experience into your life. So if you could invite people to take an action, what would that be?
Hmm. So as I close my eyes, I just kind of listen to something, and I actually see them. This isn't a very embodied action step, but it's like stand barefoot on the earth, take a breath, and feel the heartbeat of the earth mother in your feet. That's just that's the action that you're meant to take.
Yes. Let's not overcomplicate what it can look like. It can even be for me, I'm like, it can be as simple as tuning into your breath. But for so many people, we have been so dissociated from this part of ourselves, from these other sensations. And we just have so many thoughts or things to do swirling in our mind that that invitation to reground ourselves back into the mother, to know that we are so held and supported by her, while also acknowledging the original caretakers of the land you are on, is so crucial to the collective healing.
It really
So,
is. And that is something that you can do as you stand barefoot on the earth, like just feeling those original beings who are there, who are still there, their voices, their medicine, their wisdom, and their trauma. So you could be a helper. You could be a helper for that land.
yeah. Thank you so much, Asha, for joining us today. I'm excited to have you back when the birth and the deck is birthed. And so, where's it that people can go to find you? And I also know that you have a wonderful quiz that people can take to start their own journey. So, share with us about that.
So that's on ashafrost.com. You can take that animal spirit quiz. And then on Instagram, it's asha.frost. And I love seeing folks on there and interacting with everyone who joins me there. So those are the two main places you can find me.
Thank you so much to you and your ancestors for saying yes to this path so that we can receive your medicine as well as step into our own. I'm so grateful for you for not allowing fear to get in the way. And just bringing fear on the journey with you, because I can't even imagine like the people that you serve. What would it have been like for them to not have your sacred container, for them to also birth the ancestors they are becoming? So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.